Hi, this is Simon and Aaron with Assets and Arbitrage. We are live in Mexico City with Lori Bitcoin. Now, one of the things you guys have seen her before, Lorena Ortiz is Lori Bitcoin in Mexico City, and she's an excellent asset for us here in Latin America. We are currently at her restaurant, Bitcoin Embassy Bar, located in Roma Norte. And it is a place designed for people like us to meet up physically. She typically has meetups every Thursday. Yes. Every single Thursday. You guys know Simon and I and Santino have been to a few. And Lori does way more than just have a great restaurant and educational meetups for crypto seekers like ourselves. Lori, I would love for you to tell our audience, because we always have new viewers, a little bit about some of the other work that you do here in Mexico City, as well as Mexico-wide.
Well, I also am a content creator as you, and I also give some speeches in several summits around the world. I also have a position as a CMO in an organization that promotes Bitcoin education and creates community around a protocol called Money on Chain that has a stable coin that has Bitcoin as collateral.
Oh, that's awesome. So stablecoin, is it only local to Mexico, or is it global?
It's global. You can use it anywhere you are. It's called Money on Chain. You can search for it, and you can use it on your web browser with MetaMask or Liquify or another wallets that are used to use as a wallet for DeFi.
Okay. For the DeFi. Okay.
Oh, okay. Wow, that sounds great. So I didn't know we wanted to go into something else after that. I had a few questions, but
no, but I do want to tell you guys, we are live in Mexico City. It is literally the Manhattan of Latin America. So there is a lot of outside noise. Sometimes it's going to be really loud. Sometimes it's going to sound kind of low. So just bear with us through the recording.
Okay. So we just wanted to know, since the last time we spoke with you in October, is there any updates in Mexico City or Mexico-wide generally about the adoption of Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, actually, right now there's a new protocol that's called Pediment. I don't know if you have heard of it. It was created to make votes with other people.
Okay.
In small communities, I think it will work pretty well, because sometimes some obstacles for the adoption is that people can't manage their own keys. You know? Yeah. If they don't know anything about Bitcoin and they don't know anything about how to manage a wallet, maybe sometimes it's like an obstacle for them to adopt Bitcoin. So you can make a vote with your family or with your community, if it's a small community, and there are some gatekeepers that manage the vote. So nobody has all the responsibility for their own Bitcoin. It's the community that has the responsibility of the Bitcoin. So I think that's a really good option if you're searching for massive adoption in small communities.
That is great. So I guess one of my questions would be the security of multiple people holding the keys. Is it one person's wallet, or is the community have a wallet and then multiple people are, because it's kind of like what they do for enterprises.
Well, the multi-sig.
The multi-sig.
It's kind of a multi-sig.
So multi-sig for small communities. We live in Isla Huaca de Rayon. It's about 20, 30 minutes away from Toluca. It's a bigger city, it's teeny tiny, right? It's not Mexico City. It's a bigger city that's surrounded by smaller cities. So how could the city kind of use that multi-sig in that way? Would it be like a community center, or?
Yeah, they can designate who is going to be the keeper of the keys, which person and how many of them will be. And everything's around the trust in the community. So it's kind of a minimized trusted kind of way to manage Bitcoin. And if somebody wants to take out all the money, they can. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can, because they need several keys to unlock them. Also, the transactions between the both users are for free. So if you live in a small community and you want to make transactions with somebody else in the community, you don't have to pay a fee.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and also there are some secure ways to keep the Bitcoin of each one of the community separately.
Okay.
So you don't have to mix all the Bitcoin in just one vault. Everybody knows how much Bitcoin they have individually.
That's really, really progressive for Mexico and cities along Latin America, though.
That is, and is there a website for that or?
Yeah, you can check Petty or the protocol Pediment. Well, actually, it's an upgrade for Bitcoin.
Okay.
Pediment, or you can search for Petty.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll absolutely have that link in the description so you guys can take a look at it. I know a lot of you often wonder, what does that have to do with us? But the global adoption of Bitcoin helps everyone. So if something fantastic is happening in Latin America, or in the East, or in the West, or in the North, it helps everybody to win. So we always want to keep you updated on the global adoption for Bitcoin. We just happen to be in the Latin America region.
Yeah, and actually you can use this kind of instrument anywhere in the world. The plans for Petty is to build small communities all around the world to use this kind of vaults and promote this kind of use of Bitcoin.
And that's a way to spread adoption like wildfire.
Wow, that's very interesting.
And to get adoption quickly to rural areas.
Yeah, wow, and that's something we talk about a lot because we speak to a lot of people about Bitcoin education and we always refer them to you. So just your website.
The technicals in Spanish do not.
Yeah, that is great. So well then piggybacking off of that, we would like to ask, because I've seen you in South America, going different places. I believe I see you in Argentina.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and so how is the Bitcoin adoption going through LATAM? South America.
I think in some particular places like Argentina and Venezuela, there's necessity to search for a solution for the inflation and the devaluation of their currency.
Especially Venezuela and Argentina, right? Because Michael Saylor got caught terribly.
Yeah, and I think that's what's impulsing the adoption there in those places. Yeah, in Mexico, we have a little bit more stability.
Yes.
So we don't have that necessity to search for an answer to keep safe our wealth.
Right.
So yeah, in Argentina, there's a huge community of Bitcoiners. Actually, Money on Chain was built at first in Argentina. The beginners, the founders of the protocol lived there. Right now, Money on Chain has passed to decentralized. Actually, right now it's running on IPFS in their planetary file system. So right now they don't have any other influence in the protocol. But at the beginning, the founders of the protocol lived there.
Okay, so it started in Argentina. It's spreading like wildfire. It's here in Mexico, which is great because not too far away up, especially in the rural areas like we talked about.
So let's talk about it. Aaron and I, we spent a week in El Salvador.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
At El Zante, Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah.
And we walked around, checked it out, tried to, spend some Bitcoin. We have some other places that we have researched and done shows on. It was Bitcoin Jungle. I think in Costa Rica. One is Bitcoin River.
In Guatemala?
Oh, no.
I think that was Bitcoin Lake, wasn't it?
One's Bitcoin River, one Bitcoin Lake.
Okay.
But what do you think about areas like that, especially El Salvador with people like Max Kaiser and President Kelly down there? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's great because actually all the adoption of the massive adoption as a country of Bitcoin in El Salvador started in Bitcoin Beach. Anything would happen if there wasn't a Bitcoin Beach at first. And all the education that they're promoting with initiatives as My First Bitcoin, that it's a diplomado, I don't know how to say it in English.
Like a diplomatic?
No, it's like an educational kind of way to learn something.
Oh, okay. It would just be an edu, we don't have like a word for it, but.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they give the young people, the students, a certificate that they have learned how to manage Bitcoin, how to open a wallet, how to restore a wallet, and actually there will be a graduation
Mhm.
in May.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm attending.
Okay.
It will be on the 11th or 12th, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and this will be like the third or fourth generation of students that study about Bitcoin and have a certificate in El Salvador.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
And this initiative is amazing because they don't earn any profit.
Mhm.
They just make this kind of endorsement
Mhm.
just through donations of all the Bitcoiners that want everybody to be educated about it.
And that's the community, right? So the community got together, they put, we would call it in America sandboxing. You know, you're in the sandbox, so you're teaching the kids how to do it, hoping that they get the real world application. So we would call it sandboxing. But how the community came together, there's no profit, there's no agenda, there's no incentive, other than Bitcoin is more important than the little bit of money I could have made charging you
Yeah.
in order to graduate from this program. Now, you were recently in Guadalajara. Was that for a Bitcoin project?
Actually, I attend to something called Talent Land. That is like the most big, I don't know, the
Largest?
biggest, the largest, yeah, event in Mexico.
Mhm.
And they have a blockchain land, they have gaming land, they have iron land and other lands. So the people, the students can see in which place, in which area they can develop themselves.
Awesome.
So I attend as a speaker to blockchain land and I talk about why it is so hard to understand Bitcoin, but not as like the technological barriers, but as the psychological barriers that we have in our minds, so that you can understand Bitcoin really well because of all these barriers.
Well, I'm curious, what are some of the psychological barriers that you've been seeing here in Mexico? Because they may be a little different than the psychological barriers that we have in the US. What are some of the barriers you've been seeing with the understanding the simplicity of blockchain? I know I said that, that's obnoxious, but even the simplest aspects of blockchain can be kind of overwhelming when you are not technologically inclined.
Yeah, I think one of the most shocking parts of understanding Bitcoin is that you learn how actually the money works.
Gotcha.
How actually the money system works. So it's like a kind of shock to know really how they do it and to learn that money actually doesn't worth anything. It doesn't worth anything if it has like the respaldo, like the backup of the government.
Yes.
It doesn't worth anything.
It's not backed by anything.
Yeah. So it's kind of shocking for everybody to understand this and to know that all the time that they have been working, it's kind of worthless because their money starts devaluating every minute, every second. So I think this is the first barrier because you start with some kind of denying about what you have just learned, and you start saying to yourself, no, this can't be possible. And Bitcoin is the thing that is worthless, not my money, because all my family has been working generations to accumulate this wealthness in something that it's gonna be worthless in a couple of years. So this is one of the first barriers that you confront at the beginning. After that, you pass to some kind of how do you say, like grieving cycle.
Grieving cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been working for nothing. I get it. I understand it.
But it's really painful in Latin America.
Yes,
because we have been struggling with this monetary system for years, and we have been experiencing all the inflation problems through generations. So it's really shocking for us to know that we are not safe at all. And then we start like accepting, right? Okay, so yeah, this is gonna be the system that I will be living for the rest of my life. Then what can I do
to participate in that?
Yeah.
The student, oh, go ahead,
Oh, I'm
sweetheart.
sorry. Go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask this last
Yep, yep.
question, Lori. The students that you were talking to in Guadalajara, are they young children? Are they college students? Is it a mix?
It's a mix. Actually, they have a kids land
Okay.
where you
'cause I
can
heard that.
find really small kids like 4, 3, 1 year olds. And there are students from high school
Mhm.
or university or college.
Okay, great.
Yes,
So
I
they
think
were
it's
smart to kind of get the generation that needs the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Now, that type of adoption, I haven't really been seeing in the US. Have you been seeing that?
I haven't been seeing it readily on social media, but you know, like I said, we're not there, so we might be missing something.
We might be
but
missing
yeah.
stuff, right? And you notice that the media never ever talks about things like this.
Yeah.
Right? So they never say, oh, you know, we're gonna have, it's the community that comes together and brings you the news. All I see when I go on my social media is bad news about what's going on in El Salvador. They focus on the gangs and the violence and how Bitcoin's not working. And then you have an event that you went to in Guadalajara, which is an extremely large city. It's the second largest city in Mexico, isn't it?
Would think so.
Guadalajara.
Guadalajara or Monterrey. I don't know.
Yeah. One or the other, but the top 3 largest city in Mexico. And we have no idea that there's this great conference outside of Lori. So when we talk about supporting resources like Lori in your community who are traveling, spending their money, spending their time, right? Because time is money, spending their time that they can participate in these things for no profit. We want to do whatever it takes to support content creators as well as community resources like Lori. So if you have someone in your community like that, do whatever you can to help with the conferences, to help with the virtual conferences. And it may require you to put out a little bit of money.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Kind of like a community service, but it is serving your community. It does give back to those who need it the most, the underserved communities. I know you have one.
And actually, I wanted to add something because Bitcoin changes this kind of paradigm. When if you keep the knowledge to yourself, then you have like a way to earn more money. With Bitcoin works
The
all way
opposite.
around. Yeah, the opposite.
We
yeah.
make more money when she's absolutely right, where people do like to maintain the advantage. Yeah, I know something you don't know, so I have an opportunity that I can lock you out of. But she's saying that Bitcoin is more altruistic, right? We talked about this, I don't know how many shows back, 3 or 4 shows back, where Bitcoin requires the community to come together in order for the opportunities to start to spring forth so that we can generate the wealth, not just for us, but we often talk about, you guys can't see the kids, I keep pointing at them, but y'all know our gang of kids are here. I'm trying not to travel without them. But so that the children and the generation that needs Bitcoin will have it at their disposal.
And make more secure the blockchain.
And
The
secure the
Bitcoin
blockchain, which is the most important, right? Securing the blockchain.
Definitely. So I was going to ask you, because we were talking about educating the children. Bitcoin has always been said to marginalized groups of people. You know, we always talk to people of marginalized groups. How does Bitcoin in maybe Mexico and even South America, Latin America, how can Bitcoin help women in this area?
Well, actually, we live in Latin America in some kind of say machista.
Oh, okay. So she's saying Latin America is heavy with masculine energy. You guys know in the US, it's toxic masculinity. It's toxic here as well.
What's it? Patriarchy and stuff like that.
Patriarchy,
Yeah, stuff like that.
male patriarchy. Men make more money than the women, even if they do the same exact job, so on and so forth.
Yeah, in Latin America, it's a reality, also as in other parts in the world. But a lot of women here in Mexico are not allowed to work because of their husbands doesn't want to. With Bitcoin, they can accumulate wealth without their husband knowing that they're accumulating. Because some parts of all the how to say violence, like the gender violence
And the femicide.
and yeah, it's because the woman can't leave the husband, you know. And if you can accumulate enough wellness to go by yourself
And take care of yourself.
yeah, and take care of yourself, then you don't need that kind of things in your life. So I think Bitcoin can make women stronger, women be stronger that way.
Okay, is that something that you teach or it's something that you advocate for?
I advocate for. I don't teach it, but
Okay.
I have talked about it in several interviews.
So,
Yeah.
Because it is a resource now, and America is very different, right? So
yeah.
America, well, with the Black community, it's very different. So I have opportunities that he wouldn't necessarily have at his fingertips. So we have to work together. It's very different. We have to work together to get stuff going. And in the US, it's the men who are kind of in corporate America. They don't mind men doing like heavy labor.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about corporate America, where it's a little bit easy to kind of make money,
Yeah.
you don't see a lot of Black men
Yeah.
climbing the ladder. But the women, we can. We can get into spaces that a lot of the Black men can't. So for us, it's a little bit like backwards, where we have to work together in order so that the man has, you know what I mean?
So this is like, we put this podcast on our YouTube channel, but we're also posting it on somebody else's channel as content. And it's called Gentlemen of Crypto. And it's explained, you know, really to help the Black community learn about crypto community. So that's why we like to talk to you, because you know, everybody has to help their community.
Right.
And then we spread out and we can help other communities. So yeah, that is definitely marginalized groups of people we want to
And
help.
we all have kind of like different problems, right? So the women's independence isn't so hard to achieve in the US, but it sounds like it can be hard to achieve, especially in pueblos and much smaller areas.
Yeah, and we have a really big number of single mothers here in Latin America. I'm not sure why, or actually I'm a single mother, but yeah. Yeah, well, actually, she's not a little right now because I was a teenage mom.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So how old is she now?
15.
She said, oh, he's 15. Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah.
We'll have to meet her one day.
Yeah, sure.
But it does give you the economic strength you need to make great decisions for your family, to give them the quality of life that they deserve.
Yeah.
And you're teaching her, because she's watching mom.
Yeah.
Like when I grew up, this is how I manage my money. This is how I manage my wealth. This is how I manage my household.
Yeah.
So it is an absolute necessity for underserved communities. Plus, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
So they talk to each other and they influence each other. This is what we do in my house and so on and so forth. And eventually the adoption should spread in the way that it should spread, despite the media not wanting to tell us all the great things going on in the Bitcoin community. And this is why we have shows like this.
So,
I just had one more.
Okay, because I'm going hard pivot.
So the other day, and I'm so sorry we couldn't make it, but the other day you had a gentleman here at a meetup. He was going on a Bitcoin tour.
Paco,
Right?
de India.
All over de la India, no? All over Mexico. I mean, it's a lot of travel for Paco.
Yeah.
So if you could tell me just a little bit, because I'm sure you had a long conversation with Paco before he did the meetup. Can you tell me a little bit about how that tour is going and how the adoption is going in the areas that he's been trying to kind of help get some jurisdiction in?
We have to make a telephone group to help him to connect with all the other places that he was visiting,
Right.
he was planning to visit, and to connect with another Bitcoiners, not just in Mexico City, that is the capital, but in another places like Puebla and Querétaro. And yes, there are several communities here in Mexico City, not as big as in Mexico City, but yeah, there's Bitcoiners everywhere in Mexico. And he's trying to find and show by Twitter and other media the uses of Bitcoin all around the world and all the adoption that has been going on and all the communities that exist. So I think that what he's doing is amazing. And he has been receiving some support from all the Bitcoiners and other companies.
Because we would love to have both you and Paco. It doesn't have to be at the same time, but Isla Waka de Rayon, they're working to kind of scale up.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think they absolutely need to hear. And surprise, surprise, so many of them are like, what is that? Is it a coin? Like, where is it? Is it in your pocket? Like, we have the little Bitcoin ounces because we're in the precious metals. So when our neighbors come over, they think that's the Bitcoin.
No.
Right? Like, so that's how we're like, oh, we gotta get Lori here because she can do the technicals, and your partner as well that's on your podcast. You guys can do the technicals to just get the basic education out there. And I know sometimes it feels like we're almost moving backwards because we have to start all over from the beginning because this area is like, what? Going on? Like, what? So I think it's important that Paco is going. You're traveling all over. We have other networks traveling all over. And sometimes you still feel like, oh my God, there's a pocket that has no idea what this is with all of the work that's been done. So I'm hoping we're going to see what we can do, but we absolutely need you in our region in Toluca, especially those little areas surrounding Toluca.
And we could always set up, some kind of meetup or a thing, something like that.
Mhm.
So that's always an option.
Right, because we know the mayor and we know the police chief and we know the people in the staple of the area. We just need to get everybody in one place so that Bitcoin adoption can start to work in that area. Often, Lori, when we go to the ATM, there's no cash in the ATM. There's so many unbanked people.
Yeah, so they don't need to fill it up because there's no need.
Well, they need the cash, but they don't have a bank account.
Yeah.
So what's happening is you're paying the vendors and the money's not going back to the bank because they're not depositing into their bank accounts. So you'll see there's always a huge cash shortage every Friday when people are getting paid. And that is a huge sign, that cash shortage is a huge sign that Bitcoin is absolutely a necessity for you unbanked population area.
And conversely, Western Union.
Mhm. The line outside of Soriana for Western Union and MoneyGram is around the corner, Lori, and that money that the third parties are making off of people who desperately need that money.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Ridiculous.
it's a shame. Like, they should all be put in jail.
Oh, and all the commissions that they charge.
The commissions that they charge, and that's what I'm talking about. The money that they're making off the desperation of a family who needs that money coming from the US.
Yeah.
It's like they're million, trillion, billionaires off of the commissions, and Bitcoin's desperately needed where we are.
And we could talk to the banks, but I'm not gonna go there because that could go on and on and on.
And then we can get banned, so don't talk about it. We'll take our show down.
No, I was gonna go with the hard pivot though, because I go with the government level. So BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But I read an article earlier this week that Mexico may be applying for the BRICS Nations Plus. Have you heard anything about that?
No, actually, I haven't done so.
Okay, no worries. But from what I read, they're actually, so because they're trying to usurp the US dollar as far as the trade. So that's what I had read. And it was interesting because it's one of the US biggest trade partners. So that's a big problem for the US when they're losing big trade partners, right? They're trying to, they lost all the BRICS and then they're losing all these other people applying. So
Mexico joining would be a huge blow. And I don't know if you've been noticing, but just because like we earn income in dollars and then because we live here, we transfer it into pesos. The peso has been strengthening a lot against the US dollar.
Yeah.
So it's good news for Mexico, bad news for us, right? But it's a way, I think, for Mexicans to take that strength and the opportunity and start to invest in trying to get their Bitcoin together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a great opportunity for you guys on this front. Now, we need to do it because the dollar is weakening against currencies that it just shouldn't.
Yeah, like the yuan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the interaction that has been going on between Russia and China and other countries, and they're trying to get together to kick out the dollar and a currency to make transactions. So yeah, that's really weakening the dollar.
Right, and I mean, the US is in big trouble. Europe's already in trouble because the euro is already weakening against the dollar. It has always been strong against the dollar for the last 2 decades. So as we're looking at the global signs on the wall, the flags that we're seeing, I even told you just a small flag. You have all of these smaller areas of Mexico where there's a cash shortage. These are all signs that Bitcoin is absolutely a necessity globally for everyone, whether your nationality, your socioeconomic status. If you're wealthy, you need Bitcoin to protect your wealth.
Yeah.
If you're poor, you need Bitcoin in order to generate some of the wealth and to maintain the time and the labor you put in, the money that you made to begin with. And those are some of the things that newer viewers are starting to kind of like, oh, you know what? You guys are right. Like, it's time now. Because we still have some psychological barriers in the US as well.
Yeah, I think everybody has it because we have been living in a system for decades that makes us think that something is one way and we couldn't understand it and we couldn't talk about economy because we didn't have the preparation, the academic preparation. But when you understand Bitcoin and you start talking about these difficult topics that aren't that difficult because even all the economies that manage all the wellness of the world, they can't explain what they're doing. You know? I don't know if you have seen some videos of all the federal, well, the Fed or the SEC or the, how do you say, the European Bank?
The central banks.
Yeah, all of them, when somebody asks them how the money has been produced, they can explain what they're doing. So if you start talking about the stuff, you now understand that they are just making money from air. Then you're one head above the others, you know,
Right.
one head above the system.
Right. And I think that is a huge psychological barrier because there's still a lot of US citizens who don't know that money is created from debt.
Yeah, and they don't know, like we always talk about those five tenets of money.
The 5 characteristics, right?
So, you know, understanding that what you have is fiat currency, it's not actually money, and we're talking about, you know, Bitcoin being money thing. So, Lori, I'm going to ask. I got questions today. I don't want to keep it too long. So, we are also precious metals investors. Okay, so like gold and silver. There are people who posit out there that Bitcoin is gold 2.0. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I have heard about it. I think Bitcoin is even better than that. Because there are some places where they haven't searched that there is more gold. So anytime that another place with too much gold is discovered, that makes a lot of, say,
Like war.
yeah, they can offer more quantity of gold, and the markets may be more.
Fluctuating.
Yeah, but Bitcoin is a certainty in everything. We have for first time digital scarcity, and we know how many Bitcoin will be ever. So I think Bitcoin is even better than gold. Even if you can touch it with your hands, even if you can hide it in your pocket or in your house, you have it kept in a more secure way that it's secured by everybody. So for me, it's even better than.
Okay.
She's just talking about like the optimization of it. It's really technological.
Right, it
gold.
is. You know, it's the digitalization gold as for being. Oh, I'm sorry.
And the ability to carry large quantities of it right on your nano ledger or your cell phone, or
And not have to drag it across.
not have to drag it from Florida to Mexico City.
Yeah, we've done that. It
Wasn't
So-
fun at all.
So I would like to ask you, I didn't know this, so I didn't know you had a daughter.
Yeah.
So we had did a show about, you know, having your children, you know, as far as your teens and up to date where everything is, if, you know, in case something happens to you. Or that, what do you think about it? I mean, is that something that you do with your daughter?
Yeah, actually, it's really a priority for Bitcoiners to know how to make the inheritance about their Bitcoin because you are keeping the wellness because of your kids.
Right.
So if they can't have it when you pass away, when something happens to you, then it's worthless what you're doing. So yeah, I think we all have to have a plan of what would happen if we are not here anymore. So there are some ways like the multi-sig, you know, you can give it to one kid to your mom or to your, I don't know, your cousin or whoever you trust pass it on your kids if they are not old enough to have their own kid, right? And you can have also some kind of board that has a timestamp.
Mhm.
And you can designate a wallet if you make a timestamp, sorry, that lasts like, I don't know, 20 years.
Mhm.
And you give the wallet to your kid,
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay? And you just say, okay, just keep it with yourself for 20 years.
Mhm.
And if you don't make a transaction in 20 years, then all your wellness transfer there.
Okay.
And all the Bitcoin that you have will be with your son or your daughter.
See, that's nice. That's kind of like a digital trust in a sense.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not a fan of it, but a lot of people will get lawyers involved as
Yeah.
far as with Bitcoin. Do you think that's something you should do, or?
Yeah, I think that's a way. It's a. I think everybody must have like their own way to make things secure for themselves, because what may be secure for me may be not for you.
Right.
So we have several ways to manage all this wellness to our kids. Actually, there's a book that's called How to Make, and I can remember
The title.
the title exactly, but it's about how to make an inheritance program for your children about this.
We're gonna look for that book, you guys, and try to have it
Yeah,
in the
we'll get it.
description.
We'll get it.
And then I don't know if you're on time.
Oh, I can't see the time. I'm sorry. No, I'm trying to check the time.
It's for
About
30.
Oh, 30. Okay, we got a couple more questions. So go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it for me.
Oh, was it? Okay. Well, I mean, we had a great time here. We're gonna finish having dinner and everything. Is anything you want to talk about Bitcoin Embassy Bar?
Or anything upcoming that you're interested in?
Well, yeah, we will be making some meetups here about the money on chain protocol to teach everybody how to manage the stable coins collateralized by Bitcoin. You know, because we have been suffering some problems with the stable coins recently, on what happened with the USD, all that happened with Terra, Luna, all that happened with Paxos, and all these how do you say, empresas,
The businesses?
the businesses that were emitting all these stable. And I think we have to search a safer way to have stable coins.
Yes.
I'm not a fan, but if you want to use them and you have to use them, then we have to search for better ways to have stable.
Better solution, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna get out of here on this last question. I see you got the Bitcoin earrings.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, that is so cute. She's got Bitcoin merch.
So I consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist. Are you a Bitcoin maximalist?
I am, but I'm not a toxic maximalist.
Oh, you're not toxic?
Oh, boy, you might be a toxic maximalist
Okay.
then.
Well, all right.
I try to respect all the adoptions
What
because
I'm sorry. What are the other coins called?
shit.
Okay, I didn't want to get there. All right.
Shit coins, but you have to respect every diversity.
Everyone's
that exists.
decisions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, that's why this place it's like a center for the community, you know, because if I was like really toxic about everything, then nobody would like to come,
Right.
you know? So if you like NFTs, if you like Web3 or whatever, then it's okay. Sometimes we make some kind of transition, you know, maybe we start like, okay, this sounds interesting, and then we lose money and we're, okay, no.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no. I changed my mind.
So yeah, you always can make Bitcoin closer to somebody that you care, but with in a friendly way.
Yeah.
All right. So when we finish eating, can I pay with my Shiba Inu?
No.
Yeah, come on, man. Okay.
Is that Don Julio Setenta? No.
All right. Well, we didn't want to keep you too long. This is the CEO of the Bitcoin Embassy Bar. It's you know, a great place to come when you come to Mexico City. Check it out. It's in you said Roma Norte.
Roma Norte.
Yes, Roma Norte.
And you definitely want to check it out on a Thursday. There's typically meetups here upstairs, which is where we're seated right now.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get here all over Mexico City, no matter where you're staying. Just an Uber ride away. It is typically hubby and I's date night. And it's just a great place to go, even if you're not gonna make a meetup. It's just nice to be in the environment with like-minded individuals.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And like you said, you can come and pay with, what you can pay with Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. And Bitcoin.
Ethereum?
And Bitcoin.
Oh,
And Bitcoin, let me for
Dash, right?
yeah,
But then you changed it. Okay, it changed. Okay, that's good to know. She's changing. Maybe she Visa first, guys. Visa first, all over the world.
But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and have some dinner and get some drinks and stuff. And I guess we will see you guys next week. Thanks to her for your time. We really appreciate it, really hosting us here and your beautiful establishment. We really
What you're doing here in the community it's wonderful. All of the travel, the time, the money that you put in to help the community. We are so grateful for the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your space.
It's your space, but
I'm
okay.
bringing my space to your space.
Thank you for inviting us to your space.
And yeah, I hope to see everybody that's watching us here in.
I hope so. You guys need to start traveling. We keep getting on you guys about that. But we'll see you guys next week. Bye. It's gonna end. Yeah.